Merry meet and welcome to Thrilling Thursday here at Ariel's Corner. This is Ariel Gatoga, and we are streaming live on YouTube and on Twitch. Moderating today on YouTube are the lovely Vanessa and the lovely Diane, and moderating on Twitch is the lovely I Am Her Eminence, and I think Dre is there as well. Thank you so much, moderators, and thank you so much to everyone for joining us today. We are on class 2 of our Prosperity and Money Magic course. There's a lot to get into, so we're just going to get right into it. We do have chat threads open, and if you'd like to chat amongst yourselves, please do. But if you have questions for me, you can put it in the chat thread, and I'll do my best to get to them by the end of this stream. This may be a bit of a long-ish class, so buckle in. I'm going to do my best not to make it too boring for you. Okay, hold on just a moment. Let me get myself situated here. Okay, good. If you are in a place where it is safe and appropriate, please close your eyes and begin to take some nice, long, slow, deep, relaxing breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. With every inhale, feel like you're breathing in more light and peace, and with every exhale, feel like you're letting go of all tension from your body and your mind. Inhaling peace and exhaling as you let go. We picture ourselves on top of a beautiful mountain in the center of a circular grove of trees. In the center of our circle, a bonfire blazes forth, lighting us and the grove with a golden light. We recognize that this is the light of perfect love and perfect trust, and it easily and efficiently burns away everything unlike itself, leaving us safe and serene. Into this sacred space, we invoke the presence of our Creator. To many of us, our Creator reveals themselves to be a mother and father, a goddess and God. We also call upon our angels, our guides, and our teachers. We ask that they join with us and guide us as we walk along the way, helping us to become happier, more peaceful, more prosperous, and more loving people. Thank you very much. Blessed be. A small crowd today. I must have scared everybody off last week with this class. Well, we're still going to do it. Here we go. Before I forget, I got to open up the homework page. Hold on just a moment. Sorry. Okay. All right, here we go. So last week, we went over quite a bit, and it's going to be a lot this week too. The reason why I packed so much into 3 weeks is because I originally gave this course while I was still charging for classes. And since it was about increasing your prosperity and I was charging for the classes, I didn't want to make it too expensive. So I figured I'd just jam everything into 3 classes and it wouldn't be as expensive that way. But I probably could have made it a 6-week course. All right, so where am I? So this week, I want you to keep up with your regular meditations and your regular spell work. We've been working with that waxing moon energy. And we've got another week of the waxing moon, so you should do your best to keep fine-tuning your spell work and using the lines from that grand money incantation. I like this incantation because it aligns with the 4 laws of money. But if there are other incantations, money chants, mantras, affirmations, etc., that resonate with you, you are obviously free to use those. I just find this one particularly compelling. You may want to stick with that grand money invocation for at least a month just to see if it doesn't help. You'll notice that this incantation is very flexible. You can use different parts of it when spending money or working on various aspects of your life. So you can mix and match the stanzas of that incantation to create custom incantations for whatever spell you're working on or whatever situation you find yourself in. It's a pretty cool incantation, if I do say so myself. I've seen some really great results, and so have many others who've used it. I've also included for this week 2 new meditations, and I recommend listening to each one of those at least once and then using them as needed. One of them is called increasing your financial flow. One of them is called increasing your financial inflow, and it complements today's homework on boosting your income. The other meditation is more mystical, and it's titled Working with the Spirit of Money. It involves connecting with the spiritual essence behind money. Much like buildings, homes, countries, wells, rivers, trees have their own spirits, money has its own spirit as well. And this meditation can help you manifest on higher levels without falling into a lot of the greediness that sometimes comes with manifesting money. You will learn to be able to manifest larger and larger sums of money in ways that benefit you, the world, and keep you spiritually minded. Stick to your daily manifestation list for at least 28 days. If you skip a day altogether, start over from day 1. And if you need help completing your list, adjust it for the next day. So if you don't complete everything on your list, that's okay. Put it on to the next day's list. Aim to finish your list every day, and if not, just adjust it. For the daily manifestation list, you might notice that it's tough to complete all 6 items. And if so, there could be several reasons. You might be overloading yourself, so consider breaking the items on that list down into smaller parts. Or you may encounter resistance that feels like laziness, but it's not laziness. Resistance as laziness stems from a reluctance to change the status quo very frequently. So if you want more money or a better lifestyle, part of your mind might actually be holding on to what's familiar, and consider the change that you're hoping for to be threatening to it. Some of us fear change that can lead to avoiding activities that promote the change that is good for us. So be very gentle with yourself. Take a light approach. I know it seems like this course has a lot in it, and I don't want you to feel overloaded. Even though it is a boot camp, you can still keep a light touch. You can do both. So it's helpful to make your list the night before or first thing in the morning. Doing it at night lets your mind prepare for the next day and start to get going on some of the things you want to do. Some people find trying to accomplish even 6 tasks can be challenging. It reveals how much time we waste, like spending hours online or on social media. Not that those things are bad, but it's just good to notice. Perhaps you plan to, you might have planned to read a chapter from a book, or get a massage, or write a letter, clean a drawer, answer some emails. And you found that you didn't complete some or all of those tasks, and then you rolled them over to the next day. And then you still didn't get it done, so you rolled them over to the next day. You might feel like there's never enough time, maybe, to complete these tasks. Yet you notice that you spend hours on other unproductive activities. Be gentle with yourself. Be patient and loving with yourself. It's just about noticing. It's not about chastising. It's not about scolding. It's just about noticing. Noticing tends to heal things. When you just notice those things in yourself, the deep mind tends to rush in and start to heal them and change them. So if you can keep from judging yourself and being mean to yourself, hostile with yourself, scolding yourself, and just notice these things with no judgment, you will notice things start to move in the right direction all by themselves. As you get accustomed to working with this manifestation list, what you're doing is honing your ability to gauge how much prosperity you can handle. What is too much, what you tend to resist. It's valuable self-knowledge. So allow yourself to make mistakes. Allow yourself to be imperfect. Consider somebody who wants to learn to play the clarinet. They may hit a wrong note and say, well, forget it, I can't do this, and quit. But instead, they ought to acknowledge the mistake, practice again, and make some changes. Maybe play it slower or ask a teacher for help. Gradually, they stop making that mistake, and then they move on to other challenges. Each mistake is a step toward their improvement in mastering the clarinet, and the same principles apply here. Through solving mistakes on the clarinet, you become a skilled clarinet player. Similarly, you become adept at manifesting prosperity by solving the errors that you notice in yourself. So don't worry about making mistakes. You're supposed to. That's part of the process. This week, I want you to also look at refining your goals. Now, when you're doing goal setting, it's another reason to keep a light touch. We're not necessarily creating goals because then we're going to force ourselves to manifest those goals. We are creating goals for ourselves so that we can listen to what we want. A lot of us don't listen to ourselves and don't ask ourselves, what do I want? What do I want? And that's all a goal should be, is what do I want? Wouldn't it be cool if? Wouldn't it be great if? It's not pressure. You're not forcing yourself to do these things. By just creating the goal, and maybe goal isn't a good word, a vision for what you want, then your deep mind gets to work on achieving that for you. And it's an easy and relaxed, effortless process. And that's why we work prosperity magic rather than forcing ourselves nose to the grindstone, work to get these goals achieved. That's what the ego wants to do. Wants to take our visions, our desires, and turn them into horrible tasks that are no fun. So don't think of goal setting as some horrible task. You're not forcing yourself to do these things. You're just asking yourself what you want, and you're putting it down on paper. And goals can change. You're not beholden to those things. You can abandon those goals or change them or tweak them. So start listing things, especially financial things that you actually want, and also things that you want to eliminate, that you don't want anymore. You get the choice. Isn't that nice to know? You have the power to say yes and no to things in your life. That's prosperity. This week, we are going to focus more deeply on your financial goals. So take some time to sit down with this task, and you can leave your binder at home if you want, and just take a tablet of paper with you, and you can put it into your binder later and find some sort of opulent place, whether it's in nature or maybe a fancy restaurant, a hotel lobby, somewhere that feels luxurious to you. Just spend some time there and start writing out your financial goals. Now, this isn't, I will do this and I will do that. It's, wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be awesome if? That's how I want you to think of these financial goals. Because when we start thinking about financial goals, we get so tense and so scared. And that is one of the reasons why we have so many problems financially. So this is an opportunity to change that around. So think about a weekly, monthly, daily, yearly figure of what you'd like. So for instance, if you're currently earning $250 a week, you might aim for $300 a week by the beginning of next year. Again, you're not forcing yourself to have that. You're just saying, wouldn't it be great if? Is that reasonable? Do I think it's possible? Just the decision to do that frequently is all that it takes. You don't have to do anything more than decide, especially when it seems like such a reasonable small goal. You could make that happen even without magic, right? Going from $250 a week to $300 a week, perhaps by collecting recyclables or finding other ways to earn extra money. Now that you've got that, multiply that amount by 10. Instead of thinking $350 a week, think $3,500 a week by next year. Sit with that idea and think about whether that's possible. Consider how many income streams maybe you'd need and how much each would contribute to that figure. You could even use a calculator. You're just letting your conscious ego mind get busy on this for a second. Give it something to do. Again, you are not bound to do any of these things. This is just an exercise. So if you're thinking of making $350 a week, right now, you could find maybe 10 different ways to earn $350 a week. Interesting, right? 10 different income streams. each making $350 a week, then I've got 10 times the income. That's an interesting thing to think about. I don't have to do that. Nobody's forcing me to do any of those things, but it's an interesting thing to consider. Think about whether you could increase your income from each stream or have more streams that bring in less money. Doesn't matter. Maybe you want one stream to increase in financial flow, or you just add more streams making a little bit here and there. Maybe you have a tiny bit of affiliate income here. Maybe you have a little Etsy store over here. A little of this, a little of that. Just thinking like that. Just consider on just a very pragmatic level what it would take to earn 10 times your current income. Now, that may seem awfully daunting, and that no matter what I tell you, that may cause you some stress. And if it seems stressful and impossible after reflection on that, just scale it back. What happens if you thought about $2,500 a week? How many streams of income might you need for that? Or what would those look like? How much would you have to make from each stream of income? Rather than thinking, I'd have to go out and get a new job. Well, maybe not. Maybe there'd be other little ways that income could come in and add up to $2,500 a week. Just think about it. Just use your imagination, your creativity. None of this has to happen. You're not beholden to any one of these things. Just use your mind. And then you could adjust it even down even further. And like I said, if you keep adjusting it down to what feels even more realistic, you'll eventually get to a place where you're making, in your mind, $700 a week instead of $350 a week. And look what you just did. You doubled your income in your mind in a way that seems super easy now, because you started by 10 times your income and you kept creating different ideas, and you kept scaling it back and scaling it back. And by the time you got to double your current income, it seems like such a nothing. It's no big deal. That's the purpose of the exercise, to accept in your mind how easy it might be for you to double your income. It's a wonderful tool. Contemplating these more significant numbers first, working through the exercise of what it might take, and keep scaling it back until you get to double your income. It seems like this exercise is super intense, but it's not. It's easy and fun. It's just daydreaming with a pencil and pen. Just follow the process, stay committed to it. Once you've explored these ideas of new income possibilities and managed to double what you previously considered unreasonable, when you've doubled what you previously considered a reasonable amount of income, in other words, going from $350 to $700, you will understand that it doesn't take that much for you to double your income. And then just focus on what those other income streams might be for you. Now, you may not have one little bit of interest in becoming entrepreneurial at all, but you can still go through the exercise and consider the idea. I like to blend practicality with magic rather than doing one or the other, because practical magic is a thing for me. I think that all of my activities have to have magic behind them. And at the same time, I want them to be practical so that I can have results and I can prove to myself that magic works. And that's what we're doing here. Once you have a reasonable idea of what a financial goal for you might be that you think you could actually achieve, and an idea of the number of possible income streams that it might require to create those earnings for yourself, decide what you might want them to be. And you can do that by taking out a piece of paper and listing everything you love to do without filtering it. Don't worry about whether it can make any money or any of that. Just write down your passions, what you love. I love reading, I love eating, I like playing volleyball, I like singing, I love dancing. I love writing. I love blogging. I love surfing on the internet. I like scrolling through YouTube shorts. I love sleeping. I like staying in bed and eating bonbons. I like all these things. I just write them all down. And then just keep adding more items until you can't think of any more of your favorite things that you do. Try for at least a page or two of activities that you love. Now leave a space between each item so that you might end up with 4 or 5 pages. Leave some room between each item so we can do some other things between each item. But after listing your favorite activities, just start brainstorming. Don't be practical right now. Don't be practical about it. Just focus on pure creativity. Come up with ways you might be able to earn money from those activities, even if they seem ridiculous. Remember, people have found ways to monetize anything in this world. And the only thing it takes is you allowing your creativity to flow. But again, you're not beholden to any of these things. Nobody's going to force you to go out and make money at these things. Just use your imagination. Be as creative as you can. Don't worry about a thing. Just enjoy the process, have fun. Write down all the activities you love and all the potential ways that you might be able to make money from them, even if they seem crazy. Keep brainstorming until you are exhausted. Until it's like a hard workout and you can't do it anymore. And you can take several days for doing this if you want. You can repeat this process multiple times. But once you've done that, go through your list and notice if there are any ideas that seemed interesting to you. It's like, well, actually, that's a good idea, and I could see myself doing that. Again, you don't have to commit yourself to doing it, but just put a check mark by it, just to keep your mind on it. And then tell yourself, wouldn't it be cool if I had a business doing that? Highlighting the ones that seem really interesting and fun, easy for you, fascinating for you. Taking those highlighted items and really thinking about them, mulling them over in your mind. You could make a separate list of those things, of those items, and choose the one that sounds the most fun, the most feasible, and the most interesting. And this could be something that you decide to create a second stream of income, should you desire to do that. Just notice that you have something that you love to do and that seems feasible and that you could make it work. Just notice that you have that if you want to. And then you can start using magic to make that happen for you if you decide you want to do that. There are 3 main ways that we can earn money, excluding found money and gambling. So if we take found money or gambling off the table, you could trade your time for money, which is the way most of us do things, as at a job. You work a set amount of hours and you receive payment for that. Even if you're self-employed, if you're in a service type industry and you don't have any employees or any kind of way to leverage your time, it's time for money. And that's a wonderful way to make money. That is a fabulous way to make money, but it's the most common. The second way to make money in this world is investment income. That's where your money is earning more money through interest or dividends or capital gains. And it's feasible for us to do that, but that's not our main focus here because most people don't have large amounts of cash that would be necessary to earn enough of the investment income to create a stream of income that's going to be meaningful. So we're going to put that one on hold right now. The third way is through a business generating profit without trading time directly for money. And this happens through a type of thing that is commonly called passive income. And that means just leveraging your time. And this can be done through hiring people to do most of the work, earning royalties from books or songs, creating online income streams, all kinds of different ways that you can create income from a business that doesn't actually involve trading time for money directly. So it's one of the best ways. I mean, we're not stealing money. That's the other one. So we're taking stealing money, swindling money, gambling for money, or finding money off the table. Okay, these are other ways. These are actually earning money. So some of us have businesses or products that do that. Or maybe there's products that you want to create. Maybe you're really into candles, or you're really into, perfumes or things like that. There's all kinds of possibilities. Maybe you're a musician. Instead of saying one income stream is royalties on your music, you'd specify it's royalties from one particular song or album. That's one separate stream of income. So you're not thinking about my music is a stream of income. Each song is its own separate stream of income. Each album is its own separate stream of income. Each tour is its own separate stream of income. Each product in your store is a separate stream of income. So you can really think of it that way, as many, many different streams of income, not just my music. I have many musician friends, and there's a cottage type industry type of musician that I know. And I think she does Christian music. I can't really remember. I know I'm not that familiar with her, but her music itself, but I know of her. And she's very talented. And she goes into the studio and she makes an album, and then she travels and she books gigs in churches worldwide to perform and sell her album. And once the album is paid for by all of these gigs, she uses the extra money for that she's making for studio time for her next album, writing songs in the meantime. And then as she tours, she's not only performing material from the new album, but she's also performing material on the other album. And so she's making income off of that album plus the new album. And she banks some of that, and then she puts some of that profit into the next album, and so on and so on and so on. And she's built this cottage industry all on her own, hiring her own promoters, booking her own booking agents on a very tight budget. Despite not being familiar with her particular culture, I understand that she's quite successful in it, and her success has grown over time by just doing what she loves. She doesn't just have one income stream, she has multiple income streams from touring and selling albums, and that's what she loves to do more than anything. And she is one of those people that would probably be doing it even if she wasn't making money off of it. So she's got income from 5 or 6 different albums now, plus she does touring and she does teaching, adding up to like 8 or 9 different streams of income just from her music projects. She's achieved this all on her own, starting with a shoestring budget. When I began my first business, I wish I had had guidance, because I learned through trial and error everything not to do. I faced so many failures with my first business, but I kept on trying. Having a business degree does not prepare you for the real world. First, I learned how to not fear failure, because I failed many times. I had 2 different occult shops in my life, like actual retail shops, storefronts. The second one was much more successful than the first one. I started the first one before I was even 21 years old, and the second one I did in my early to mid-20s, still figuring things out. I loved making oils and incenses, and I was already teaching classes in witchcraft, so I thought, well, opening a shop would be a great step. I could wholesale my products worldwide to other occult stores. I could sell them retail in my shop, and I could teach my classes. Well, it was successful, but I made so many mistakes, and I lacked the right kind of success mindset necessary. I was definitely holding on to my old poverty thinking during this whole process, and I lost everything. I lost my business, I lost my house, I lost my relationship, and I ended up on a friend's couch. And I picked myself up. I got a job at a local coffee house, and a lot of people mocked me for my failure, always laughing at me for working at a coffee house as a barista. But I was unfazed. I focused on my next thing. I knew I needed a stable income to fund my next idea. So I took a temporary secretary job, and I minimized my living expenses by sharing a small apartment. And for a couple of years, I worked 40 to 50 hours a week at a job and spent the evenings and weekends on my business. Eventually, my business income allowed me to quit my job. And my job didn't want me to leave because I was a really good employee. But I was ready to move on. And from that point, I found success. And my reason for sharing this is to emphasize, don't quit your day job. Your main primary source of income is there to fund your other ventures and your financial independence. Don't leave your job until your other income streams surpass your salary. And staying would actually cost you money. It was costing me to stay in my job at that point. The time spent on making spreadsheets and typing could have been used to make more money in my business. So that's when I decided to leave because it just didn't make sense. And not only that, but it was so many hours. I didn't have to work so many hours in my business. I had to work so many hours from the 9-to-5 job. So I decided to quit and leave. And it took me a few years of doing that. But with the knowledge I have now, I know it could have been a lot quicker if I had used a lot of these principles and magical principles more successfully. I wouldn't have had to go through so much of that hard work. So appreciate your primary income source. Be the best employee or professional you can be. And if you're not employed, your first step is maybe to find a job or to create something that does provide a primary source of income, which will support your other ventures should you want to create other businesses. See, we think about of creating other businesses as something that big financial people do, is really important people with business degrees, people with experience. They're those people over there. But your business doesn't have to be anything big and scary. It can be just a small little income stream. A small little income stream. And you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. But it's a wonderful way to leverage your magic so that there is a way for the universe to provide that income to you as your prosperity consciousness grows. So having some income streams is not a bad idea. You'll discover, like many of us did, hopefully not the hard way, that sometimes those little insignificant income streams that we just thought were fun end up being our main sources of income later. So just think about having passive income streams. Don't believe it's only for the rich or the people that are smart. You can be an entrepreneur in your way if you decide to do it your way. If you feel like it's hard or unpleasant, then change your way of thinking about it. It shouldn't be. The idea here is don't do things that are hard or unpleasant. Sometimes entrepreneurs, when they're successful, look like they work really hard. But the most successful ones aren't working hard at all. They just are doing what they love. What do you love to do the most? And if that's all you were doing and you loved it so much and you kept doing it, it's not because you're working hard. It's because that's what you want to do with your time. So if you can find a way to leverage some of that time to bring income, what a wonderful idea. So you don't have to be an entrepreneur and you don't have to have separate income streams, but it would be malpractice for me to teach a course in money magic and not mention how powerful it is to have those multiple income streams and doing what you love to do on your terms. So at least go through the exercise, even if you end up not wanting to do it. Now, we've discussed that through the power of creativity and your own mind, you can figure out what you want, how much money you want, and what you love to do. You can create income streams by doing what you love, getting as rich as you want to get. You can have as much money as you want to have. That's what we're discovering. That's our discovery for the day. It doesn't matter how long it might take or not take. Don't think in those terms. Don't worry about whether the $1 million that you want comes to you tomorrow. It's okay. Maybe next month or next year. It doesn't matter. Let's take it out of the linear time and put it in eternity where it belongs. What you can do is keep track of your daily blessings so that you can see your progress. Your ego mind always wants to look at what you don't have and how hard everything is and how bad everything is because it's a creature of lack that exists as a habit in our mind. But you have so many things that are working for you and so many blessings. And as you work this magic, your blessings will continue to increase. And you want to make sure that you're focusing on those, because what we focus on tends to increase. So your blessings are going to look much different in about a month or two compared to what they look like today. It's like a snowball when it gains momentum. So to achieve the financial success you want, it's crucial that you have a surplus. And you can't expect to become wealthy without a surplus. So many people have started successful business with just an idea, but it's easier if you have a little bit of money. So start by paying yourself first with whatever money is coming in, even if it's just 1% of your net income. Ultimately, it's a good idea to aim for 10% of your income is what you save, but go with whatever's comfortable. Whatever's comfortable, but pay yourself first. Pay yourself before you pay your bills, before you pay your taxes, before you pay anything. Pay yourself first, even if it's a tiny little bit of money in a savings account or in an envelope somewhere. A tiny little bit over time can become quite a bit of money. And it's not so much the money, it's the idea that you're worth it, that I'm going to pay myself first. I am the priority before anybody else. I get to keep, a part of everything that I earn is mine to keep. We don't think that we're worth it. That's why people don't save. It's not because it's so hard. The reason they don't save is because they don't think that they're worth it. They think everybody else comes before them. Everybody else is more important than they are. But that's not true. There's nobody more important than you in your life. Right? So, pay yourself first. It's important that you get into the habit of putting away a little bit of money. It doesn't have to be anything that causes you stress. In fact, it should make you feel wonderful. And don't dip into it. No matter how much you think you need it, that's your ego coming up with reasons why you can't have anything. Don't dip into your savings unless you want to do something with it, like start a business, or buy some wonderful luxury item, or something for yourself. You don't dip into it because there's some so-called financial emergency. If there's a financial emergency, you can use your creativity to find a way out of it without dipping into the money that's there for you. It's there for you. That's yours. Nobody gets it but you. And you do what you want with it. Not because you feel like there's some sort of horrible thing that's going to happen unless you give up what's yours. That's a horrible piece of misinformation that we all swallow, that we come last. No, you come first. Bless your savings as a magnet for growth. Now, you're going to perhaps eventually set aside part of your savings for investments, part of your savings to start businesses, part of your savings to buy things that you want. Whatever. It's yours. It's your money. You do what you want with it, but don't give it away to things that you don't want. Now, not all savings should be used for things like investments and starting businesses. Some of it should just be for you to go on a vacation or buy that purse that you want or buy that clothes that you want or buy that car or whatever it is that you want. And not feel guilty about buying what you want with your money. Nobody teaches us this when we're growing up. Nobody teaches us that we get to do what we want with our money. And nobody teaches us that we get to have money for ourselves. All we learn is that we have to pay things, and we have to pay, and we have to pay, and we have to pay. So now you're going to pay yourself first. You're the priority. Okay. Now that's the law of savings. So we've talked about today the law of earning by increasing your income through multiple income streams, possibly, if that's something that's interesting to you. But at least the creativity that you use in creating the idea of multiple income streams is going to be a rush of creative, magical energy that causes an increase in your wealth in some way, whether it's through those or another method. Then we've talked about paying yourself first because it's yours. You get to, part of everything you earn is yours to keep. Nobody gets it. And then we're going to talk about the idea of tithing next. So think about the god and goddess for a minute. Masculine and feminine. Masculine and feminine principles of divinity. If you think about the god as being a rod or a wand, a straight line, and the goddess as being the cup, chalice, or a circle, the line on the left and the circle on the right resembles the number 10. And this symbolizes the unity of the male and the female as the number of increase. It's the magical number of increase. So to boost your finances, focus on the number 10. Train your mind that 10 is the magical number of increase. Every time you check your bank balance, in your mind, multiply it by 10. Expressing gratitude. If you receive a bill for $350, declare, I'm grateful that $3,500 is on its way to me. If you get a gift of $250, express, I'm grateful for the $2,500 coming to me. Again, this is just an exercise. You're not forcing your will upon the universe that this must come, that you're following up on it and making sure that these things come true. It's allowing your mind to open to the idea of increase. If you're thinking in terms of 10, the magical number of increase representing the god and the goddess together, instead of saying, I've only got $5, you're saying, I'm grateful that $50 is on its way. Now, initially stick with multiplying by 10, but eventually, once that becomes normal for you, to really start seeing that things are increasing, then you can think of 10 times 10. You can be exponential about it. When spending your money, that line from the grand money invocation or incantation, the grand money incantation states, every dollar I send on its ride comes back to me multiplied. Every dollar I now spend comes back to me 10 times 10. Get into the habit of seeing every dollar multiplied by 10 as the money in your mind. And once this becomes routine, you'll notice positive changes and increase in prosperity in the physical world because you're aligning constantly with that magical number of increase, 10. Now, the ancient practice of giving 10% or tithing has been misunderstood mostly by churches, leading to very negative perceptions of tithing. True tithing, or as we sometimes call it in the craft, the giveaway, isn't about giving away 10% of your income in order that you be blessed. It's about invoking the power of the god and goddess by regularly giving, especially if you or when you are facing financial challenges. It's not about clinging tightly to every penny and then allowing financial flow. That doesn't work. Instead, you have to prime the pump. You have to let go. Because remember, giving and receiving are the same thing, and giving precedes receiving in this world. So to maintain a flow of abundance, start by opening your hand a little bit. Get used to giving away a little bit of your income. Ideally, yes, you want to aim to give away 1/10 of what you receive, as it's considered the magic number for increase, but you don't have to do that. And nobody is monitoring you, and the universe isn't going to punish you if you don't do it. This is just you learning how to operate the law here. You know, if you turn on the spigot, if somebody shows you how to turn on the faucet and the water comes out, it's not because you're being blessed because you did some magical operation. You just learned how to do it. So that's what we're teaching you, is just how to do it. So if you receive, for instance, where am I going? Oh yeah. So you can start with any amount that you're comfortable with. It's a totally personal choice where you give, how much you give, whether you give. But if you decide to give, bless it by expressing gratitude for your tenfold return. And the reason why we do this isn't because we are conjuring or tricking the universe in bringing us a return. We're just acknowledging the fact that what we're doing is scientific. We're just acknowledging that so that our minds don't step on the hose and block the flow of the money. So, for example, if you received $5,000, you might consider giving $500 away to a place that feels right to you. It could be where you receive spiritual nourishment, and that could vary day to day. It doesn't have to be the same place, and it doesn't have to be one place. You could give $500 to a bunch of different places. It doesn't have to be a church or a specific person. It has to be where you decide. Exploring this concept of giving is best done by meditating and asking your inner guide where your money could best benefit. Where is it best for me to give the money? Many people think they're supposed to give their money. And so they give it, and then they never claim their return, and they miss the whole point. They're wasting their money when you do that. The universe wants you to prosper. When you plant a seed, you must expect a tree or a plant that produces more fruit than you planted. But in order to do that, you need to plant it in fertile ground and probably sometimes at least nurture it. And that's why we say, I accept my tenfold return, not because we are commanding the universe to do something against its will, but because we're nurturing the planting of the seed. When you plant a seed, you expect the tree or a plant that produces the more fruit than you planted. Therefore, that's the natural law. Money works in the same way. If you give it as a seed or a, quote, tithe, do it with an open heart, do it with gratitude, and do it knowing full well, expecting your tenfold return. It's fine to claim it. If you give $500, be grateful for the $5,000 return. Expect another $5,000 in return. Expect more, because that's how the universe works. Yes, it's a tenfold return, but it's always more. It's always infinitely more. The universe welcomes you when you open your mind. The universe loves you to be prosperous. Some people may never want to do this, and that's fine. You don't have to. But not participating in doing this is something that needs to be a choice that comes from prosperity, not because you're afraid of giving. If you're afraid of giving money, give a little bit. Just to get a little flow. It doesn't have to be a big amount. And it doesn't have to be to any place in particular. Ask your inner guide how much and where. And you'll be guided, you'll be shown, you'll know where to give. There's a lot of so-called rules about tithing that really are a scam to get so that people can get you to give to them. And just be aware of that. And that's why it's so unfortunate that the ego mind has gotten a hold of this wonderful tool and sullied it so much. But you don't need to be affected by that. That's why you have an inner guide. And you'll know the right place to give and how much to give by asking. But try giving. Try this and see if you don't start to see a difference in not only in the way that you feel about money, but in the way that money comes to you, the abundance that you experience, and also you no longer are afraid of money and finances anymore. That's the thing that I love the most. When I started to give regularly, is I stopped being so scared about money. I received about $1,500, which we really needed in our second occult store. I suggested that we give away $150, and we agreed upon a recipient that provided us spiritual nourishment. We all had an agreement that we liked what they did, what they were up to. So we were luckily all very magically minded people because we all were involved in this occult store. We sent out the $150, and a week or two later, we received almost exactly $1,500 from an insurance company for water damage that we actually didn't have. There was water damage elsewhere in our business park, but not in our building. I called the insurance company and I said, we don't deserve this because we didn't have any water damage. And they confirmed that everyone received the payout as part of the settlement, regardless of actual damage. That experience reinforced our belief and understanding in the tithing process because it was so down to the penny. Since then, I've never stopped giving. I don't worry about spending money anymore because I start by giving my tithe first, and I pay myself first, then I give my tithe, and I know that it's going to return to me. And so then I spend the rest of my money more freely, and I'm not so worried about pinching pennies anymore. This practice, amongst other mindset and magical methods, has reduced or eliminated most of my financial worries. The key to the giveaway is doing it with a grateful heart, with no conditions, and claiming your return. It's not about directing the recipient's use of money. So you don't want to give money to somebody and say, I wonder what they're doing with that, or, expecting that they use it in a particular way. It's like if somebody gave you a shirt and then the next time they saw you and they said, how come you're not wearing your shirt? That's not really giving openly, right? It's none of their business whether you wear the shirt or not. That was the gift. But then to put conditions on whether you wear the shirt around them or is not truly giving. The same thing goes with a tithe. You give it and you out of love, and then it's gone. Now, if somebody asks you for a tithe and you don't feel like giving it, just say no. Never feel obliged to give money anywhere. And that goes for anybody, not just people that want it for a tithe. If anybody asks you for money, especially once you start making more money, you'll notice that as you start making more money, people want more money from you. And a lot of people expect you to give to them because of your relationship with them. And remind yourself that you're not obliged to give money to anybody. It must come from you and your connection with your inner guidance. All right. Let's look at your handouts. This week, there's something called a prosperity contract. Now, this is optional, but it's very, very powerful if you find it's something that resonates with you. If not, just save it for later. It might be something that comes up that you enjoy at a later time. The idea is to make a contract between you and whatever your concept of a higher power is, like spirit, God and goddess, God, whatever you call it. You specify what you want spirit to help you achieve, and then you write your goals down. And then you note what you will do to strengthen your relationship with spirit, like meditating, volunteering, tithing, whatever your thing is. Next, decide on the actions that you're going to take to support your desire. For example, if you want to start a crochet blog, then you would break down the tasks into small steps. You wouldn't overwhelm yourself. You'd focus on fun, manageable tasks, create your to-do list, call a web designer, brainstorm content ideas, search for a domain name, etc. This should be an enjoyable project. Even if it doesn't make you money, you'd still love doing it. Like me with lecturing, it's not a money-making thing. But sometimes it brings income, but that's not why I do it. So to ensure a speed and performance, what am I doing? The key is to give more value in what you do than what you expect in return. Now, when you're using that prosperity contract, all you're doing is you're understanding the law of giving and receiving, of give and take. You're holding up your end of the agreement, and you know Spirit will hold up its end of the agreement. But your end of the agreement should be things that you love to do and that are fun for you and easy for you to do. You shouldn't be using that contract as a way to flagellate yourself or do horrible, awful things. That's not what the infinite wants from you. It's just a method. It's just a way. And like I said, it's not for everybody. But if it's something that you like, then you go ahead and try it. But in any business or venture in life, the key is to give more than you expect in return. This way, you're always ahead. The universe always compensates you from one source or another. And you can use what I've taught you over these weeks to potentially earn millions of dollars if that's what you want to do. In everything that I do, I try to provide more value than I ask for in return. And that always feels like it keeps me in a good position for compensation. People who scam other people or offer really poor, junky products rarely succeed in the long run. Those who grasp this principle understand that giving more value than they receive opens the door for the universe to reward them in infinitely prosperous ways. This applies to your job too. If you consistently exceed expectations and perform your job joyfully and pleasantly, and you give much more than what is what's compensated, than how you're being financially compensated, the universe is going to compensate you for that as long as you are open and receptive to it. You are always rewarded by the universe, but you must be open and receptive to those blessings. Regardless of your job or business, it's crucial that you keep learning and improving. You always want to become irreplaceable and invaluable by reading, taking classes, honing your skills, and doing the best that you can do, no matter what it is, because you love what you do. If you don't love your job, maybe if you can't find a way to love it, it's time to start looking for something else. I've learned that it's not about who's hiring, but what I want to do when I'm looking for a new job. Before the internet, we used to have something called the Yellow Pages. And when I was 16, I remember wanting a job. And this was not my first job. I fudged my age and illegally worked without a work permit when I was much younger than that, because I always wanted my own money. Anyway, so I was looking for a job and I thought, well, what do I want? And I thought, I'd love to work at a hair salon. I want to be a receptionist at a hair salon. So rather than looking for places that were hiring, I just opened the Yellow Pages and started calling hair salons and asking them if they needed a receptionist. And voila, I got one. And I loved that job. As a working musician, I got really good at waiting tables. And I worked at Olive Garden for a while before moving on to more expensive restaurants where I could make some more money. But I was working for Olive Garden because they were great with my schedule, and it was nice and close. And it was many, many years ago, and I don't know if they still do it, but senior citizens used to show up for their it was called like a bottomless salad bowl, soup and salad and breadstick. You could just get as much as you wanted. And so the senior citizens always came in for that. And nobody wanted to wait on them because they were notoriously poor tippers and sometimes were a little bit demanding. But I loved them. They were so sweet, and I was so kind and so loving to them. And just because I loved them, and not because I was trying to prove anything to the universe. And I knew I wasn't going to make money off of them, but it's okay. And I enjoyed them so, so much. Well, one day, the manager took us all into the back of the restaurant. And I was so annoyed because I had tables and stuff, and I was just like, oh. But he said, no, I want to talk to you guys really quickly. There is one employee that's gotten more letters of gratitude than any other server in the entire country. And that's me. They said it was me. And I said, what? And it was all those senior citizens, because one thing that they didn't tip well, but they did write letters. And they wrote letters to the head of the company. And so what I got out of that wasn't more money necessarily right away, but I got pick of the schedule. I got the best days. I got the best stations. I got, I literally maxed out what you could earn at Olive Garden. So it's just a demonstration that when you give more than what you expect to receive, the universe always compensates you if you are open to the blessings. Now, if you find yourself panicked about money, we're going to go over that a little bit more next week, but you do need to discipline yourself to stop panicking. Focus on some kind of positive thought or incantation that counters your worry. There's a technique that works when you're in a tight spot, and we'll discuss it more next week. But you must have some sort of concept of a higher power, whether you call it God, goddess, spirit, whatever, something that represents the source of all life for you. And when panic hits you, decide to hand your problem over to this higher power and stop thinking about it. Stop thinking about the problem altogether. This requires great discipline and can be very challenging initially. You can use affirmations or incantations that resonate with you to keep your mind focused on that higher power, like I'm now being divinely supplied, all of my needs are being met, whatever. And I provided you with some prosperous ideas in today's handouts. One affirmation is I give thanks that all my financial and other needs are instantaneously met at all times. Whatever it is, make it your mantra or adapt one of your own. And when you start to panic about money or bills or whatever, acknowledge the problem and then call upon that higher power. Give the problem to the higher power. Know that the higher power is fixing it, and take your mind off the problem and think only about the higher power. This works like magic. And it's the best thing that you can do when you are in a panicked situation about money. What will happen is either the problem will tend to resolve itself, or if you need to do something, you're going to be inspired to do it. You will be inspired. It'll be obvious what to do. But you keep your mind on that higher power, not on your problem. And anytime the panic comes back, acknowledge the panic, acknowledge the problem. You're not going into denial over it, but you're taking it and handing it to that higher power, and then placing your mind exclusively on the higher power, and let the higher power handle the problem, not you. You keep your mind off of the problem and get it right back on that higher power. All right, there's lots to do, and it's all laid out in your homework this week. We have one more week of this course, and then we'll be done with it. So I hope that you're enjoying it, and I know so much to do, but if you do the work, I promise that you're going to open your mind up to much more prosperity than you ever thought possible. And when you open your mind to something, then it can become a reality. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. Until next time, blessed be. Boy, I know that was a lot. I wonder if we kept anybody. Oh, yeah, we actually grew. All right, let's see if we have any questions real quickly. Oh, I'm on the wrong side of the tracks here. Okay. What does it mean to give to yourself before giving to others? That means that when you get money, put a portion of it in a savings account or in an envelope or somewhere, and that's just for you, and you're going to hang on to it. And you're going to hold on to that money until you decide what you want to do with it. Most people pay all their bills and they never leave anything for themselves. Well, take 1% or 0.5%, whatever you can, and pay yourself first, and then pay your bills. Pay yourself first, and learn how to give to yourself first. Make yourself your first priority, and then you can start paying other things. That's what that means. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you to the amazing moderators, Vanessa, Diane, and I Am Her Eminence. And we'll see everybody for our final prosperity and money course next week. Until then, blessed be.